So now we have it, CBN governor in Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, pointing out it was one of the questions asked. And of course, we do remember it's a year since he's been in office holding that position. So it was, looking back at where he's coming from, how things were when he came in, and gave a lot of explanation on that. But let's delve into this much more with Dr. Muda Yusuf, the CEO of Center for Private Enterprises Promotion. Dr. Muda Yusuf joins us virtually from Lagos. Dr. Yusuf, good morning.
Good morning, Ine.
Yes.
A pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you where you're happy that there's been an interest rate hike. So I wonder how you're feeling now that it was so unexpected. I mean, one would have thought even if there was going to be a hike, it would at least be 25 basis points, a quarter of a percent, not half of a percent. But I mean, according to the CBN governor, a lot of considerations came into place. Top on the list is the cost of energy, which we see has skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks, less than a month now. So, I mean, what comes to mind, Dr. Yusuf, on this 50 basis points interest rate hike?
Well, from my own point of view, the latest hike by the central bank is very difficult to justify, particularly in the context in which both the citizens and businesses are operating right now. If there's anything we need in this economy from a policy perspective, I think it's policy measures that will bring relief to citizens and to businesses. Because things are already extremely very tight. I mean, you cannot have a more tighter monetary policy environment than what we already have. So if you have a situation where businesses in particular are struggling with depreciating currency, they are struggling with high energy costs, they are struggling with high costs of logistics, and already interest rates are already high. So even in this situation, we are now hiking interest rates and it's still retaining the asymmetric corridor at plus 500 basis points. That means the MPR can go as far as 32.5%. Then we also have the CRR moving up to 50%. I don't think with the kind of environment in which we are and with the performance of GDP in Q2, many of the sectors slowed. The critical sectors of the economy slowed in quarter two. If you look at the GDP numbers, we have some contraction in some key sectors. Some major sectors are still in recession. So if the economy needs anything at this time, I think we should be looking more in the direction of stimulus, both from the monetary side and from the fiscal side, and even from trade policy side. There are also issues about the cost of clearing cargo at the ports. So we can't be, the burden is extremely too much.
But Dr.
So
Yusuf,
I don't think this is very justifiable intervention.
But Dr. Yusuf, it is you economists that say we cannot have growth in the face of high inflation. And so the central bank have decided to tackle inflation because, they looked at the issue of energy costs, which we know is going to feed into the next inflation number. Then they also looked at the issue of the flood, which we know affected food and is going to affect food supply. And so this means that most likely the next set of data we will get is going to show an increase in inflation. And they put this as a reason of consideration.
Now, how will the hike in interest rates now reduce the energy cost? How will the hike on interest rates now reduce the challenge or shortage of food supply that has been inflicted by flood? What is the connection? What is the impact? I don't quite agree with that. And the CBN also talked about excess liquidity. Where is the excess liquidity coming from? Is it coming from investors? Is it coming from entrepreneurs? When many businesses are already cash-strapped. He admitted that this liquidity is coming from the public sector. Can't we have a way of fixing it at the level of the public sector so that you don't cause the private sector, investors, entrepreneurs to be paying the price for a crime that they didn't commit? The entrepreneurs were not responsible for the excess liquidity. Now you tighten monetary policy, you increase the MPR, you increase the CRR at asymmetric corridor at 500 plus 500 basis points around the MPR. It is the investor that will pay the price for this. And this may not necessarily even achieve this objective. I think we should have allowed the fiscal policy measures at least to begin to get activated, and let's see how far we go with that. Already there are some measures that are being put in place. What we are waiting for is faster implementation of those fiscal policy measures. I think that will give us a lot more relief than further tightening of monetary policy. I don't think we can justify these latest steps that have been taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The economy doesn't need this kind of intervention at this time, particularly businesses.
All right, so Dr. Yusuf, in summary, how would you capture 1 year of Mr. Olayemi Kadoso as CBN governor? I know there's been reforms that have had, both positive and not so positive impacts. For instance, the gap between the parallel and the official market, we've seen that reduce. But in your words, how would you capture his 1 year? Even though I know that it's been more of hikes, but how would you describe it?
Well, it's a mixed bag, really. At least we have seen an improvement in transparency, improvement in corporate governance and all of that. We have seen some measure of stability. But again, I think the governor needs to define the boundaries of how far we should be pushing these market principles, this monetarist approach to economic management. Because the structure of financial markets in Nigeria and in many developing countries is not the same thing as what you have in Europe or in America. So the model of intervention cannot be exactly the same. So I think we need to continuously recalibrate some of these monetary policy measures, including even the foreign exchange policy measures. We need to recalibrate it, review it in the light of the experience that we have. Because no two economies are the same. So the models cannot be the same. We have seen some improvement, but I mean, the CBN has been driving the economy almost to the extreme of monetary principles, of market principles, which I don't think this economy, which I don't think is working well for the economy so far.
All right, Dr. Muda Yusuf, thank you so much for your views this morning. Chief Executive Officer of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you very much.